It's easy to get stuck reaching for the same familiar fruits and vegetables, even when you know a colorful variety is key. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements don't replace fruits and vegetables, but it makes it easy to add more variety to what you already eat. With 31 ingredients that are whole fruits and vegetables, switching it up is easy because we've already taken care of the hard part. Go to balanceofnature.com and get a free fiber and spice supplement, plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer by using discount code POD.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. This Monday night, witness the end of an era. John Cena takes center stage for his final appearance ever on Monday Night Raw. One last match, one unforgettable farewell. Come celebrate the legacy of a true WWE legend. Monday Night Raw, November 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, only on Netflix. Be there for the moment everyone will be talking about.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, enormous news. The House of Representatives has voted to reopen the government after the longest shutdown in U.S. history. 43 long days. And the vote coming down just a little bit ago from the House, 222 to reopen the government, 209 to keep it closed. And of those, let's go through some of the numbers too, because it was a powerful vote. There were 6 Democrats who voted to open the government: Henry Cuellar, Donald Davis, Jared Golden, Adam Gray, Marie Perez, and Tom Suozzi of New York. And then on the GOP side, 2 voted against it: Thomas Massie and also Greg Steube. Greg Steube of Florida, who voted against it because it had a provision in it that gave money to the senators who actually had their phones tracked with Arctic frost. We'll get into that in a moment. It was not about the government reopening or not, but a provision that was put in the Senate bill. But the great news is that the government will be reopening momentarily. First, of course, the Senate passed it. Now the House, as we mentioned, just passed it a few moments ago. And then it will be physically brought over to the White House, and President Trump is expected to sign it at any moment. This is truly a historic day. And the great news is now the payments will begin. Federal workers will now get the money that they dearly are deserving. Think about how many people have been out of work. They've been furloughed. They've been put on hold. Air traffic controllers have been able to, had to sleep in their cars. They missed 2 different paychecks. That's a lot for a lot of Americans. Many Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So this shutdown caused by the Democratic Party cost so many Americans dearly. Tens of millions of people who rely on food stamps were in crisis. Those with the Women and Children program were in crisis. The airlines were dealing with a crisis, losing millions upon millions of dollars a day. Think about all the flights that have been delayed, the flights that were canceled. And at the end of the day, the Democrats didn't get anything that they wanted. So this was really a total disaster for them on so many different levels. That provision that they wanted, that extension on the Enhanced Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare subsidies, that nothing changed on that. They claimed that that was the whole big thing for the fight. The Republicans say it was because they wanted the Democrats to give coverage to illegals. Well, they didn't win on that. So what was all this for? It was an effort in futility, if you will. But the Democrats tonight are saying it was a valiant fight. That's one of the first reactions we are hearing. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling the shutdown, quote, a valiant fight. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and so many others also calling for moderate Democrats to basically get out of the party. They are furious tonight. They wanted the shutdown. They wanted the American misery to continue. It just does not make sense in any shape or form. And we're going to take your calls tonight, 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. What is your reaction? Thank goodness President Trump has determined to push this through. Thank goodness House Speaker Mike Johnson pushed this through. And thank goodness, at the end of the day, there were 8 Democrats in the Senate and there were 6 Democrats in the House that are showing profiles of courage. The other ones, a bunch of cowards that are absolutely punishing hardworking Americans. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And first off, here is the vote that happened, and here is the announcement of its passage just a little bit ago on the House of Representatives.
On this vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. The motion is adopted.
The motion is adopted. And here is Republican Congressman Brandon Gill talking on the House floor about what a waste this entire effort has been and how it really has just been for naught.
Allowed this evening to vote to reopen the federal government.
House will be in order.
Mr. Speaker, for 40 days, the Democrats shut our government down to pursue unrealistic policy proposals that they know the American people do not want. Mr. Speaker, the American people do not want health care for illegal aliens. They do not want our tax dollars funding left-wing media outlets, and they do not want to drive up our debt $1.5 trillion as part of a short-term continuing resolution. Mr. Speaker, the last 40 days have been nothing but pure political nihilism, and I'm glad that this nightmare is over so that we can get back to work on behalf of the American people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
And the nightmare will be over soon. It's still going to take a while, everybody. Obviously, flights, it's going to take a while till they get back up and running. There were 6% cuts, which is significant at airlines. Today, we saw it through different airports. Also, it was supposed to go to 8% tomorrow and 10% over the weekend. There will still be definitely bumps until things can get back up and running, till air traffic controllers, all of them, come back to work. Many of them have also quit during this process, so there's a lot to reconfigure there. Also, getting the food to those in dire need, especially through the SNAP program and the Women and Children's program, those who qualify for that. These are some of the ones who deserve these benefits the most, who have been hit the hardest, and that's who were punished by the Democrat shutdown. And yet, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat, of course, so-called leader of the squad, if you will, in many people's mind, well, she is angry today. She's not angry that the Democrats were holding hostage the American public for 43 long days and very painful days. She's angry at Chuck Schumer because she says there was a secret deal that allowed these 8 Democratic senators on Monday to vote to approve it because, of course, then it pushed it through the Senate and then it came to the House. So now she's all worried not about the American public, but the internal Democratic Party politics. Listen to this.
What is so important for folks to understand is that this problem is bigger than one person, and it actually is bigger than the minority leader in the Senate. You had 8 Senate Democrats who coordinated their own votes on this, as well as you have 2 retiring members. Many of them are also up in several cycles from now, with the hope that people are going to forget this moment. And I think what's important is that we understand that this is not just a leader is a reflection of the party. And Senate Democrats have selected their leadership to represent them. And so the question needs to be bigger than just one person. We have several Senate primaries this cycle. I know I'm being asked about New York. That is years from now. I have to remind my own constituents because they think that this election is this year. We actually do have Senate elections this year, and my hope is that people across this country actually participate in their primary elections in selecting their leadership. Thank you.
AOC worried about the Democratic Party, trying to push out Chuck Schumer or anybody that she believes had common sense in this process. Boy, what a mess this is going to be now for the government. And also, we understand President Trump is speaking right now. Also, he is actually signing the bill. We're going to see if we can get that audio. I'm talking to Tony on our board and Matt on our board. Let's see if we can get that at this moment right now, if we can tap in, because the president is speaking. He is signing that bill, and he is about to open the federal government. This is truly a historic moment. And we're going to go to a quick break. We're going to have all the details right when we come back here on The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, the House has just reopened the government. They just voted it. The actual act of reopening has to happen by President Trump, and he is moments away from signing that. So this is a very, very big deal. Signing the bill right now in the process, and it will officially reopen it after the longest shutdown in U.S. history. And let's go to the great Congresswoman from Texas, my friend Beth Van Dyne. Congresswoman, your reaction to this moment?
After 43 days, I think of the longest and the dumbest government shutdown in history. I think, look, House Republicans are finally putting a nail in the coffin of the Washington Democrat shutdown, and we are finally reopening the government. I think, people have suffered because of this insane political tantrum. I mean, that's what this is. This is a tantrum. You think about the harm. 42 million people lost SNAP benefits. 13,000 air traffic controllers went without pay. 1.3 million active duty military were under the threat to not be paid. And hundreds of thousands of federal workers went without pay. And why? I mean, for what? I mean, the extremist Washington Democrats, they got nothing out of this. I mean, none of their initial demands. They wanted $1.5 trillion of additional spending for illegal immigrant health care, for extending the emergency COVID-era spending for Obamacare, DEI programs in foreign countries. None of that was part of this continuing resolution to reopen the government. And so, but I think what you did see is that there was a massive civil war, right, between the old guard and the angry, violent Marxist wing of the Democrat Party that seems to now dominate their party.
Yeah, and by the way, you probably saw this. AOC and other members of the so-called squad are calling for Chuck Schumer's head tonight.
Yeah, no, I did see that. On November 4th, it was what? We've never been more united. And now, now it's we must purge the infidels. I mean, they're owned. The Democrat Party is owned by the far left Marxists, the Islamists, and it's really a movement that wants to utterly tear the Constitution and the American culture to pieces. And I think that's where you're seeing this open civil war between those Democrats who finally recognized that the shutdown was nothing but absurd political theater, and it was just to protect Chuck Schumer and their far left base. And I am thankful for, those few Democrats on the Senate side that said enough is enough. We have heard from the people that we are hurting, and we're not going to continue it. But this was like Seinfeld. This was a shutdown for nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, bravo. I call them profiles in courage that at least there were 8 Senate Democrats. There were the 6 members there in the House. Were you surprised, Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne, that 6 Democrats ultimately did at least vote for it?
Honestly, I was expecting it to be more.
By the way, I thought there might be. I was looking at that too. I thought there might be more because it doesn't take common sense to say you're hurting the American public.
And this is for nothing. If you legitimately want to have a conversation about health care, let's do it. Let's face it. Every Democrat in Congress voted for this to be the date that these expired. So it's not like they didn't know that this was coming. If you want to have a conversation, let's do it. But do not hold the rest of the country hostage while you wait for your demands to be met without a conversation. And I think, adding this horrible idea that government's adding into healthcare.
And Congresswoman, sorry to interrupt you. We just got an alert. Stay with us.
Breaking news.
President Trump has now just officially signed it. And here it is. Here he is signing it. Now the government has reopened. Here's the president.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you have questions. I think we really have a really great situation. We have a country that we love, and we have a country that's in great shape. As you know, we have over $18 trillion invested in our country by other people and countries. That's a record. There's never been a country that had so much, and that money's going into also building new auto plants, new AI plants, new everything. We've never had a time like this. Thank you very much, everybody.
Wow, what an incredible moment. You just heard it there, Congresswoman. We're together here on the Rita Cosby Show live. President Trump has now just officially signed the legislation, and the government has now officially reopened. What a great moment, huh?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, again, it's 43 days too late. It should never have happened, but at least, and I appreciate him getting it signed into law tonight, like not letting a moment rest, right? Because Biden, if Biden was in office, he would already have been in bed. So at least we've got a president who did everything that he could to try to prevent the harm and the public from even recognizing the fact that we were in a shortage, that we were in a shutdown. But, when you start thinking about anybody traveling, especially right before the holidays, I'm so happy that this is over. It should never have happened.
Yeah, how much do you think that also pressured so many of the Democrats to do what they should have done to begin with and vote to keep it open? But how much do you think they were hearing from their constituents when there was such a massive loss at the airline industry? So many, tens of millions of travelers. Yesterday, it was 5.2 million travelers were affected with all these delays and cancellations. And as we're heading into the holiday season, how much do you think that upped the ante? And we have just about a minute left here, Congresswoman.
Oh, I guarantee you it absolutely upped the ante. And I keep telling people, when they're asking, what can we do? Call your Democrat senators and tell them to get on the program, get back to work, do what they know needs to be done, and stop this political theater. And I think this shows what constituents can actually do. You do have an effect on the government, and God bless you for getting it done. But yeah, when they hear from people, this is actually effective. This is not a game. You are hurting innocent lives. All of our military, all of our law enforcement, our air traffic controllers, you are hurting their lives unnecessarily because you want to pound your chest. Knock it off. Grow up, and let's get back to work.
Absolutely. And thank goodness that is now going to happen, thanks to President Trump signing it literally moments ago. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us on such a huge news night. Always great to talk with you. Thank you.
Love you, honey. You have a great night, and thank you.
You too. Love you very much, my friend. And boy, we also love America. And the great news is President Trump, as you just heard here live on the Rita Cosby Show, has officially reopened the government of the United States after the longest shutdown in U.S. history. President Trump signing it into law, and now we can get back to business.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And in this Back the Blue segment coming from Massachusetts, where a 74-year-old woman was rescued safely after becoming separated from her husband during a walk on a trail. The woman briefly stepped off the path, lost contact with her husband, spent more than an hour attempting to reconnect, but was unable to do so as her cell phone had no signal. So then authorities sent out search teams. The husband called, of course, 911. They deployed drones, aerial surveillance techniques. and then also all-terrain vehicles. Ultimately, authorities were able to locate her via an ATV, and they luckily reunited her with her husband. It was very cold temperatures, and thankfully, they were able to relocate her before nightfall. And of course, thanks to our great men and women in blue. And joining us now, we have Congressman Mike Lawler. But first, let's go again to the big news that just happened. Let's do an alert.
Breaking news.
And this, again, is the sound. This is cut number one. This is just a few moments ago, the U.S. House of Representatives voting to reopen the government.
On this vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. The motion is adopted.
And then soon afterwards, President Trump officially signed the legislation. Literally just moments ago, we were here live listening to it all together here on the Rita Cosby Show. And he signed the bill to reopen the government after the longest shutdown in U.S. history. And joining us now is the great congressman from New York, Congressman Mike Lawler. Congressman, your reaction to this big news, and boy, a lot of pain for just Americans. I think about the air traffic controllers, the TSA workers, so many people dragged through this shutdown, and for what?
No question, Rita. It was absolutely ridiculous. For 43 days, the American people suffered through a government shutdown that was totally unwarranted, unnecessary, and completely created by House and Senate Democrats, and especially the two from New York, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. They did this because they wanted to show their far-left progressive base that they were standing up to Trump. And this was never about health care. It was never about government spending. It was always about politics. And as a result, the American people suffered, including those 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP and WIC, our federal employees who went without paychecks for over a month, including our military, our Border Patrol agents, our air traffic controllers. It was shameful. New York has the seventh largest population of federal employees, and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries didn't care. They didn't care one iota. Chuck Schumer voted 15 times, Rita, to shut the government down, to defund these critical programs, to not pay our federal employees. I said last night he deserves every bit of contempt and criticism by the American people. There's Yiddish words that aptly describe Chuck Schumer. It's schmuck, putz, and shanda. He is a disgrace.
Well, it's interesting, Congressman, and those descriptions, I think a lot of people understand all too well. You're right. To what end? He voted, as you mentioned, 15 times to shut the government down. And then to what end? What did the people on the far left flank of the Democratic Party think in the House of Representatives? AOC is now calling for Schumer's head, saying, what does she want? The shutdown to go for another year or two? Is that what was the game?
I mean, you had tonight 208 Democrats voted to shut the government down even further. They refused to open the federal government. And the reason it's a Democrat-led shutdown, they were angry about the fact that it reopened. It was absolutely absurd on its face. It's disgusting. You have New York representatives voting to cut SNAP and WIC and not allow for our federal employees, our troops, the families of our troops to be paid. It's absolutely mind-boggling. I voted 8 times while Joe Biden was president to ensure that we kept the government open. Kevin McCarthy lost his job as Speaker of the House for putting a clean CR on the floor of the House to keep the government open because it was the right thing to do, and he lost his job because of it, because of politics. And yet here you have the Democrats going hook, line, and sinker and shutting down the government, all because they hate Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. This is all about Trump derangement syndrome. Don't you think, Congresswoman? I mean, clearly, what other objective? Why would you want to harm to the end where you'd want to harm the American public, tens of millions of Americans? I mean, it's shocking.
They have lost all rationality and reason because of Trump derangement syndrome. It really is an incurable disease. There is a fundamental problem when your hatred of the president of the United States drives you to shut down the government and make sure that the American people don't get the benefits that they are entitled to and our federal employees don't get paid for 43 days. And to your point, for what? What did they gain out of this? Absolutely nothing.
Explain to everybody what this does to. This was just simply a continuing resolution to continue funding the government through January 30th. So, I mean, it should have been a no-brainer, right?
Well, we were able to not only fund the government through January 30th, but 3 of the 12 appropriations bills were completed in full and are funded through September 30th, 2026. Ag, Milcon VA for our veterans, our military, and the legislative branch. So there's 9 more appropriations bills to work through and, to negotiate. But we were able to reopen the government, make sure that, our federal employees get paid immediately and that critical programs like SNAP and WIC are fully funded. And I can't understand for the life of me how anybody who is serious about governing could vote to inflict more pain on the American people after 43 days as we head into the holidays. What was their plan if this failed tonight? What's their plan if the government funding bills didn't pass tonight? They don't have one, and that's precisely why we were in this shutdown for 43 days, and Senate Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, voted 15 times, Rita, to shut the government down. Chuck Schumer has been in elected office for 50 years. He was first elected to the state assembly in 1974. I was born in 1986. He was elected to Congress in 1980, okay, and then elected to the U.S. Senate in 1998. It is time to go. It is time to go home.
So where do you see also just you look at the country, the fact that they would actually hold the government hostage, Congressman Lawler. I mean, this shows to me that, like you said, they're willing to do anything, and it's going to be rough times. They're going to be, they would not even, as you mentioned tonight, overwhelmingly, they voted to keep the government shut down. They didn't care that, tens of millions of people that were traveling were being held hostage. They didn't care that, air traffic controllers were sleeping in their cars. This, to me, portends what's ahead, don't you believe?
Rita, there's 47 Democrats in the United States Senate, 214 currently in the House. Only 6 Democrats in the House and 8 Democrats in the Senate voted to reopen the government. It is insanity. And I just, for the life of me, I don't understand why people think using the American people as a political hostage to try and somehow gain political advantage is somehow a good thing. It's wrong. I don't care who does it. I don't care who the president is, when it's done. It is fundamentally wrong. And every American should be demanding better of their elected representation. We can disagree on policy. We can disagree on the issues. We can duke it out at elections. But the idea that you're going to shut the government down, this is the most basic function of Congress. Pass appropriations. Article 1. It's not hard.
Yeah, you're right. It is the most basic. And I know we just have a minute or two left with you, Congressman. I want to also ask you, explain sort of what happens now, because it will still take a little bit of time for instance, air traffic controllers. Hopefully they get back to work right away. But for the public listening out there, it may take a few days for things to kind of get back into place, right? I know that federal workers can come back to work tomorrow. but for them to get the notice and who knows where they are, what will we see? What will the general public sort of see in the next day or two or three?
Well, obviously, the president just signed the bill, so it is now law. The Treasury can start releasing funds and make sure that the departments, the agencies have the funds that they need to do their jobs and get the workforce back in. Ultimately, it may take a few days, over the next week to get everything fully ramped up. But I suspect things will move pretty quickly. I think, obviously, I'm sure the federal workforce wants to get back to work. They want to get paid. They deserve to be paid. It is wrong what happened here. And think about this, Rita. Every day the government was shut down, it cost us about $15 billion in GDP growth. The Democrats don't care. They don't care that they caused, a hardship in our economy. They want it to fail. They want it to fail so they can blame Republicans, they can blame the president, and they can use that in next November's elections. They don't care about the consequences of this shutdown. The fact that they stood on the floor today and voted nearly unanimously to keep the government shut down even further speaks volumes, and Americans should vote accordingly. They should understand that this was nothing more than a political stunt by Democrats. It had nothing to do with policy and everything to do with political gain.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the heartbreaking thing, that they were willing to do that to the American public and so many hardworking Americans who were the ones who were so deeply affected by this. It is shocking to me, and it's a wake-up call. And I hope the American public sees what happened here. The Democrats own this, and it has been a disaster. Well, Congressman Mike Lawler from the great state of New York, thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate on this big breaking news night. Thank you for all you do to keep us safe and to keep fighting the good fight. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Rita. Talk soon.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Thank you, Congressman, so much. And everybody, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're also going to continue talking about this enormous news. As you just heard, President Trump has signed it into law. And now the Treasury can release the funds and federal workers will start getting paid. They will be asked to be back to work tomorrow. And hopefully very soon, maybe in a day or so, the flight hassles will start getting fixed so travel can begin again in America. Boy, the Democrats really held America hostage. We're going to have much more on The Rita Cosby Show right after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, President Trump officially reopening the government after the House of Representatives agrees to do the same. They first came out, 6 Democrats agreeing, voting with Republicans, 222 to 209. And then the bill went over to the president, and then just in the last half hour, he signed it. So that means the government is back open. Thank goodness. And join us now to talk about all of this and the politics that the Democrats have been playing at Americans' expense. Claudia Tenney, the great Congresswoman from New York. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. Your reaction to tonight, and also what the Democrats pulled this country through. And at the end of the day, they could have just signed this weeks ago. This never needed to happen.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rita. It's so great to be on, and I'm so relieved that we can now have our government function. So many people were vulnerable in this, and as you know, and we outlined every single day, I want to say kudos to our House Speaker and also to Leader Thune and all of our leadership teams for keeping us together and making sure that we were telling the American people exactly what this fraudulent, phony operation was by the Democrats. There really was no health care crisis. The only crisis is the Unaffordable Health Care Act, which they created, which is wreaking havoc on everyone. It's hurting small businesses. It's hurting consumers everywhere. And they used it because this is one of their options that they use. This is all they have. They don't want to talk about all the good things that are happening with the economy. And their mission was to shut down the government, to counter President Trump, to hurt the American people, to create misery with the American people, because it doesn't matter how badly they hurt them as long as they can get power back. And that's what it's really all about. And it was just disgusting to watch this go on for the last 42, 43 days. But the American people, I think, saw through it. We had resolve. We showed them that we are going to fix these problems and solve them, that it is not going to be power at all costs, that President Trump is doing everything he can to try to help the American people. You know, he found ways during the shutdown. Remember, Rita, what happened? I mean, the president went and found research and development money to make sure our troops got paid in the beginning. He found tariff money to make sure that the WIC payments were made. He was trying to find a way to fund SNAP, but unfortunately, that was an emergency fund and a contingency fund that he couldn't use legally as the executive branch without an appropriation coming from us. This had to get done. We had to get the government open, and I am so relieved. And another thing, Rita, not only did the American people suffer, we hurt our country. Our readiness was at stake, our vulnerability. You know, I'm glad you played all those wonderful Marine ads before I came on. My son is actually a major in the Marine Corps, and he serves in the intelligence field, and I serve on the Intelligence Committee. We put our entire nation at risk when we are shutting down our government, not making sure we're getting the absolute best use out of everyone that's serving us. These are all problems that they created, and a chaos that they created, all for power, all because they had the inability to stand up to the far left. They needed their base to stay with them to get through the elections in Virginia, to get through the elections in New Jersey, and to get their leader of the Democratic Party now is Zohran Mamdani, the mayor-elect of our nation's largest city, a Marxist, a person who is against the police, who is talking about anti-Semitism and demoralizing our police and everyone that serves in law enforcement. This is the new leadership of the Democratic Party: Zohran Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, and AOC. And it's really a disaster for the Democrats. But it's dangerous for our country.
Right.
We need to continue to stand up.
No, you are absolutely right. It is. It's dangerous for America. And they clearly are now ruling this party. Even Bernie Sanders essentially said as much. We just have a minute or so left, Congresswoman, but I want to get your sense. What was it like in the room when the historic vote came down? Was, I'm sure, relief also that it finally happened, too.
Yeah, very exciting. I have to tell you, for me, my district is farmland up in upstate New York, the 5th largest agricultural district in the entire country. You know, we went through a harvest season with a shutdown, and a lot of our farmers depend on some of the programs that keep our farmers competitive and also keep our farmers in business. They weren't able to get some of their payments because of the shutdown. Our small businesses were suffering. We know that our economy needs to grow. And remember something, Rita, our economy is about to take off. The Democrats want to make sure that there isn't a Trump economy, that they destroy it so that they can take back power. Imagine wanting to hurt the American people and hurt this country and our future that depends on economic strength and economic dominance here and around the world, and taking that away from us, regardless of whether you like President Trump or not. You're hurting the American people from their own prosperity in order to take power. That's the real disgusting part about all this. That's the reason Democrats should never be allowed to hold power with a group like these Marxists that are now in power now.
Yeah, and I'm afraid it's probably going to get worse with them before it gets better. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, thank you so much for joining us on such an enormous news night, and bravo to the Republicans there and the 6 Democrats who joined you for doing the right thing. You guys have been fighting the good fight. And at the end of the day, the Democrats got nothing. The American country got punished, as we saw. And thank goodness you and your colleagues and President Trump are now reopening the government. Thank you very much. It's really great to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rita. Thanks for your great work.
You too, my friend. Thank you very much. And everybody, what a huge news night. President Trump just a few moments ago officially reopening the government. We're going to continue with this big breaking news night.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy.
Download and subscribe
at BeBullish.com.